Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. So excited to have a good friend back with us today. Bo Polny is on the screen with me. Bo, thanks for being back.
Thank you, Noah. God bless you. Thanks for having me. And again, what a fantastic time of the world we're living in right now. This is the 25th of September, Yom Kippur, God's holiest day of the year, and we're going to talk about why this is so critically important for what's about to happen.
Yeah, thank you. This came together. I just called you up yesterday and said, hey, any chance you can talk this week? And then you had some time open today. So I think a very key time that we're able to do this on Yom Kippur. Very good timing. And of course, you got to have good timing when you have the analyst of time on your show. So big stuff prophetically on the Jewish calendar. And then also, I know we're going to get into it here in just a minute, but you're potentially looking at a very crazy week coming up in the world stage, in the financial world, political world. We're going to talk about all of that: Bitcoin, the US dollar, gold and silver, all of it. End of September could be crazy. And then just a really wild finish to the year. So really happy to have you on today, Bo. Before I pull up your slides, and you've got a brand new slide deck for us today, we're going to put the link to that down below the video. But before we even get to those, I just want to ask you, and I don't think you have a slide on this, but just ask you before we get started. We had covered a story last week. I think a lot of people know Cliff High. And then Cliff was talking with Dick Allgaier recently. They did an interview, the two of them. And I think you were speaking with Dick recently. And, Cliff High and Dick Allgaier, they have some interesting methods. And I think you and I probably wouldn't ascribe necessarily to all of their methodology. I mean, Dick kind of does what he calls remote viewing. I don't know that that's something that you or I would necessarily get into. And then Cliff has his systems, which I think he bases on psychic ability and that type of stuff. So I don't know if I agree with their methods, but you gotta say they've both been incredibly accurate over the years with really big events. And they both came out last week and said there's a very big event coming. So after I covered that, and then I saw you were speaking with Dick, I had a lot of people email me and say, hey, what's Bo saying about that? Does Bo see a big event coming? So before we jump into anything else, I want to honor those emails and ask you directly, do you see a big event coming that might line up with what those guys were talking about?
Again, see, I'm calculating time, so that's kind of why it was interesting to talk with Dick just last week. When we posted that video, we got a heck of a lot of views, and the reason being is because when I calculate time, I don't see events, but I can see massive inflection points in the time cycles, if that makes sense. So if you look at a chart, there could be a very large move in the markets or in the chart historically. So the question is, what caused that historically and what's going to cause it now into the future? Because Ecclesiastes, again, everything I do is based on history. That which has been will be again. And when I look at my charts that I provide for my subscribers, right? What do I show you? I show you a historic cycle, and God shows me where to look. That's the cool part. God gets all the glory in this because he shows me, like this morning, he showed me where to look for the US dollar. We'll talk about that today, but he shows me where to look in history. So the moment I see something, I can compare that to present day. And then you expand the time on it. You can actually look forward to see what's coming. So the answer to your question is, number one is, Dick Allgaier is a very nice gentleman. Okay. What does he do? He does remote viewing. What is that? Okay. It basically allows them to have a target and look into the future. Well, how can you do that? Because the future exists. You see, when you understand the prophecy of Daniel 2, Daniel basically described the prophecy. He gave all glory to God, but Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. What was the dream? That there was a statue, and so he's this dream about a statue and all these different layers of the statue. And then Daniel comes forth, rather than Nebuchadnezzar killing him and all the soothsayers and the prophets and everybody. What happened? Daniel comes step forward. He prayed that night. He stepped forward and he gave all glory to God. And then he gave the interpretation to Nebuchadnezzar's dream. And what was the interpretation? The next 2,500 years. Are you kidding me? So Daniel prophesied the next 2,500 years. How did he do that? Because God gave it to him, because the future exists. period. God wrote the point of the Daniel 2 prophecy was God was showing the world that only a God could give you the prophecy of what's going to come for the next 2,500 years. Does that make sense? So, in other words, if Dick Algai was around at the time of Nebuchadnezzar, for example, he could have remote viewed, the kingdom of Rome. He could have remote viewed. If he's looking forward, right, he could have seen Alexander the Great, right? So you can look forward in time. So what they're doing with the remote viewing is they're looking forward in time, and they're seeing events that are coming. Now, there's certain events, like I talked about, they're called divine intervention. There are certain events that no one can see. That's why when remote viewers or psychics will look forward in time, they can only see so far. Mostly psychics, they can only see so far. But secondly, they can't see certain events in the future, like they see like a curtain or a haze. They can't see beyond that. And the reason being is very simple: because God won't allow it. You see, if God allowed everybody to see the future, all the details, because remember, it says in the Bible, we see in part. We see through the glass dimly. So all those prophets on this world, they're all getting pieces, and you want to put in my specialty is taking the pieces and putting them together and then calculating time on those pieces. And so my point of what I'm trying to say is, if at the time of the Red Sea, Pharaoh had a prophet or a psychic that told him to not go into the Red Sea because God would close it on him, he wouldn't have gone in. You see, so that was the divine intervention. That was, you can call a kill shot, that no matter what evil had in terms of a plan or an agenda, God had a bigger plan. See, God has a bigger plan than whatever evil's doing. And so at the end of the day, Pharaoh was destroyed. He walked right into God's trap. So the point I'm trying to say is, through these people, people it's possible, especially, when they train for this, is what they do. They can look forward and they're seeing a big event coming. Well, what's the big event? It's in the Bible. Daniel 2, verse 34. While you were watching, actually, why don't you put this on the screen? This is the event that they see at page 17. So page 16 is the prophecy that I laid out for you. Page 16 is the Daniel prophecy. So page 16 is the past 2,500 years. Get it? It existed at the time of Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar. It just hadn't happened yet because it was in the future. So if you study the prophecy, you get to point number 7, which is then expanded on the next page. On page 17, it says, Daniel 2, verse 34. So what are they seeing? They're seeing this. Daniel 2, verse 34. And while you were watching, a stone cut out by no human hand. So if you take the events of 9/11 and say, wow, that was a big event. That was really, that was dramatic for the world. Yes, made by man. Now, when God intervenes, the creator of all things, creator of the universe, creator of the world, the earth as his footstool, when he intervenes, oh, trust me, you want to multiply what 9/11 was? That's pretty much what's going to happen. So while you were watching, a stone, which is Jesus Christ, cut out by no human hand, I mean, God's going to do it, struck the statue that's 2,500 years old on its feet of iron and clay and smashed it to pieces. What have we talked about on your show? Babylon, Babylon, the great has fallen. She has become a dwelling place for demons. Kim Clement actually described what the stone was. And this is what Kim Clement said in a prophetic word. He goes, I am the stone for this generation, our generation. This is it. That stone is my son, the rock, Jesus Christ. And that stone shall be given to the Davids of this generation. That's us. So through the name of Jesus Christ, we will be the Davids of this generation, slaying serpents. And they shall break down the forces of hell. So that's what the bride is about to be doing. There shall be no world war yet. Okay, remember, we talked about this in a prior podcast, Matthew 24. There'll be wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not deceived, because the end is not yet. Mm-hmm. We're not in end times. We're in the beginning of the end, okay? We're in the seals of Revelation. We're about to see the third seal manifest, which is directly coupled in with a fall of mystery Babylon. And so continuing here, a rock in the hands of a generation that shall break down the voices of hell, the glory of God that shall cover the earth with knowledge and manifestations as the waters cover the sea. It is yet to come before I return. So this is what happened before Christ returns. And you are the generation, so us, that shall defy death. How awesome is that? Okay, so that's what they're seeing. They are seeing the fall of Babylon.
So that in listening to those two talk about it, they seem to think it was going to be some sort of a strike by I guess I just say the cabal or by the bad actors. But you're thinking maybe they're seeing something entirely different. This is an intervention by God coming up.
Again, I'm just speculating, but a scripture says that a stone carved out by no human hand, so God's going to get the glory. So can they do something that will describe what you just said or what they were saying? Absolutely. Please go to slide 30, okay? And this could be what they're also seeing, but then there's going to be an event greater than this, okay? So the Kim Clement prophesied, because I will bring this nation, so God will allow them to bring this nation to its knees.
Right.
So and what happens when you read Isaiah 59 verse 19? And when the enemy comes in like a flood, that means they're coming in guns a-blazing, everything they got. Why? Because this is a fight to the death. If the truth comes out about what they did to humanity, all the lies and what they've been doing to us, to our children, to the world, if the truth comes out, they know they're finished. So they have to fight to the death. So it says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall raise up a standard against him. And so the prophetic word was, I will let them bring this nation to its knees. And then, so this is what we call the final kill shot. Okay, so that could be it as well too. But whatever their final kill shot is, and then you will hear the sound of great victory. There's a prophetic word, the land will rumble, evil will crumble. So which event are they seeing? I don't know. It doesn't really matter, because we're about to witness the greatest victory in human history. So whatever they come in with, God's got a bigger plan. See, whatever they come in with, they're walking into the greatest trap in human history. So how awesome is it to understand that? It's like, think about what happened at the cross. They killed Jesus. He's dead on the cross. Everyone fled. So that was their final kill shot, was it not?
Yeah, they thought so.
They thought so. Yep. And then we heard the sound of great victory when the rock moved. Jesus walked out. He rose from the dead. You see, there's two events coming potentially. One for sure, which is Daniel 2 verse 34, we're fallen to Babylon the Great. So this will be the collapse of Mystery Babylon. Okay, period. It's about to go down. We are in the 50-year jubilee cycle, which is right here. This is where God is now deciding today. This is Yom Kippur, the day of judgment, where God's going to decide how he's going to judge the nations of this world. And trust me, they've not turned from their wicked ways, these wayward sheep, and now God's going to bring judgment upon them. So this is going to get really exciting really quickly as we head into the end of this year. It's going to go crazy, and the charts are all pointing to the exact same thing. So I hope I've answered your question. And on Cliff Hyde, very, very smart man, okay? Very smart man. You got to give him credit. But what does he do? His word was very simple. He said that all people are psychic.
Yes, right.
Those were his words, which means that. So when his bots go out and they basically search the internet for abnormal words or however the whole thing works, they bring back words that are abnormal because they don't fit in the normal genre of how people speak. And so they're bringing, so that's the essence of, again, my layman's term of explaining it. Bottom line is he's picking up the words of some psychics. Absolutely. Because a psychic is, God makes fools of psychics and diviners. But on the other end of it, see, they can see forward. but they might give you 10 or 9 things to go, wow, this guy really knows, or she really knows what they're talking about. And then the 10th one is where the evil comes in and grabs you.
There you go. Yep.
See, so that's how it works on that presumption, which is true, because also why? There's prophets in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is it picking up words of psychics, it's of prophets also. Get it? It's everybody who speaks about the future. And so why have they been accurate? Because the future is written. Dick can see it when he's certain points he can see. So that's why things that he's seen are going to happen. He saw an incredible picture of people in Congress, everybody throwing up and just losing it. Everybody just all heck broke loose. And that was the death of the dollar, because they basically discovered, how do they build Babylon? With the money. And so when the dollar loses the status of the world reserve currency, they lose their control. Period. And Cliff, on the other hand, beautiful man, smart man, okay, and he's seeing the words of psychics and prophets, and he's bringing it back in. He's making sentences out of it. And so the two of them have been accurate about many things, and you got to give them both credit.
You do. I mean, it really is uncanny. I mean,
and my only difference is I calculate the time. You see what I'm saying? I study some of the words of the prophets, and then I calculate time to see when these things could happen. But I don't know the things, right? So I don't know the things. I know the time windows that are important. So we're going to talk about time windows today that are really, really important.
Which is why I wanted to ask you, Bo, because you don't have to know the thing, but I've been so curious to ask you, and I don't know if I'm on the right slides here, but you've got some time windows that overlay perfectly into this, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's all playing out together right here, right now. And we'll talk about this. So let's get into the really juicy stuff of this presentation. So, page 1, let's start right there. Let's just kind of go through this quickly here. Okay. So page 1, again, it says in Romans 12:19, it goes, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. You see, what happened at the Red Sea? This is so important to grasp and comprehend. The event that happened at the Red Sea, it wasn't Moses's battle. It wasn't Israel's battle. Why? Because there's only one that could stop Pharaoh ultimately. It was God. You see, the battle at the Red Sea was God's battle. That's why Moses stated in Genesis, I believe, or I think it was Genesis, he goes, stand still and watch the salvation of the Lord, for he will work for you today. The present, the Egyptians who you've seen before you, soon you shall never see again. That was God's battle. So let's apply this to present day. Stand firm still and watch the salvation of the Lord. For the present day Egyptians who you see today, soon you shall never see again. So who are the present day Egyptians? The deep state, the evil ones, all of them that have bowed down, and we'll talk about, some slides in this, but basically all of those that bow down and worship the great deceiver, Satan. They worship him. He was thrown out of heaven, and they worship him because they think he's a god. He is. Satan is the prince of the earth. He is a god, but a lowercase g. And I love Arthur Pawlowski's explanation. Satan's he's like, well, only a creation. Because God is the creator. So what's about to happen is a fun way to look at it. You've got the creator, with the biggest glove you could ever imagine, or if this is a boxing match, and you got, the creation, like a little finger, about to witness what the creator can do to a creation if they if you talk about vengeance, right? Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. See, God's got righteous anger at this point in time, and this battle is God's. So that's basically what I wanted to say. Those that want this PDF presentation, it's on page 2. Take out your phone, scan that QR code. Some new, half of this probably presentations is updated and new. And again,
yeah, it's
written. These are scriptures that are written, and I want to emphasize that. Okay. I'm showing, and then my calculations, most of them are based off of scripture. Okay. I calculate time based on scripture.
Yeah. Great. And this is, if you got the slides last time we talked, this is almost entirely brand new. So you want to grab these, and as always, they're free. You just either click the link below the video or scan that QR code, because there is some great stuff in here.
Okay. So let's go to slide 3. So why is this year so important? Okay. It's all based on abortion. This is the essence of the problem the United States had. In 73, you see, we founded the United States under God. All men are created equal. Okay, it's a covenant we made with the founding father. You gotta understand a covenant is about the land. Okay, and so God's going to protect the land because we have a covenant with God. But then 50 years ago, God removed his hand off of the United States because of what happened with Roe v. Wade becoming law in January. I'm going to repeat that, January of 73. If you add 50 years, that's January of 2023. So we are right now in the 50th year.
Yep.
That 50th year doesn't end until, I think, it's January 20th of 2024, if you're counting it based on Roe v. Wade. And I think that's very critical because, again, my opinion, but that's when all the problems started, when God he lifted his hand off the United States and evil snuck in. Get it? And so this is really important because since Roe v. Wade, every 7 years, it's written, this is biblical. It's called Shemitah. And every 7 years, there's been a market event. Every 7 years, 1980, 87, 94, 2001, you had 9/11, 2008, 2015, 2022, nada, nothing. Why? Because it states that if we turn from our wicked ways, God will relent from bringing judgment. And so because we overturned Roe v. Wade, that's on page 4. It's written in Jonah 3:10, God relented and did not bring judgment last year. And that brings us back to page 3. And page 3 says the 50th year would be now. This is it. This is the 50th year. This is the super Shemitah where God is going to do something as we head into, as it starts now, you'll see why in a minute, and it's going to go into the end of the year. All heck's about to break loose. And then 24 is going to be crazy, awesome, and crazy scary, depending on what side of the fence you're sitting on. So page 5 takes us to, again, Leviticus. This is an important day. That's why I kind of glad you reached out yesterday, because I wanted to do this today.
Right,
because today is the holiest day of the year. This is not my holiest day of the year. Well, actually it is, because I love Jesus. But my point is, this is God's calendar. Okay, yep. So God's calendar, not the Jewish calendar. The Jews hold God's calendar. The Jews' calendar was given to them by God. This is God's calendar. And what does it say? Sound the trumpet. So I'm telling you, I'm going to go out later this afternoon. I'm going to go in my backyard. I'm going to sound that trumpet. I'm going to sound my shofar. Those listening to the presentation, whoever you got shofars, get outside and sound your shofars today. Because why? Sound the trumpet on Yom Kippur today, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land. It shall be a jubilee for you. This is it. All nations are judged on Rosh Hashanah, and their final verdict is sealed today, the day of judgment. So God is sealing the final verdict today for good and for evil. This is the day that God seals judgment. Now, this is it, which means that this is going to get really interesting really quickly as we head into the end of September, October, November. It's going to get crazy because God is now intervening on our world. Page 6, again, this is atonement right now. So we're this is it. And then that leads into Tabernacles, which is September 29th through 6th. Together, another feast date. So again, I'm just showing you these are God's feast dates. We talked about page 7. This was Roe v. Wade, January of 73. This was the problem that started evil into the United States. This is how it all began. Now that we've turned from our wicked ways, if God is with us now, who can be against us? So good luck, evil. Take your best shot, because you are coming up against the Creator and you're about to meet the power of God. So page 8 is a 50-year jubilee. This is it. So covenants are about the land. Thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. Okay. So what are they trying to grab? The U.S. They want the United States. You grab the United States, you got the world. Correct? Am I wrong? Okay. Right. You grab the United States, you got the world, the superpower. Okay. So but God's got a covenant, and you're never going to get the United States. That's what they don't get. But again, evil's stupid, as my friend Greg Hunter says, right? Evil's stupid, and they are. And so page 9, there's numerous scriptures about inherit the land, okay? For those blessed by the Lord shall inherit the land, but those cursed by him shall be cut off. That's Psalms 37:22. My point is numerous scriptures about the land, the land, the land. God is going to restore the covenant and restore our land. Why? Leviticus, it's written. It's written. So page 10 takes it again. This is why it's so important to understand time. I'm just showing you the time cycle here. If you read 2 Chronicles, I've read this on prior podcasts. If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. We did, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sins and heal their land. It's there right there again. God's going to heal our land. Why? Because we turn from our wicked ways. When's he going to do it? Leviticus says in the 50th year. We're here. This is it. His final decision is right here today. If they haven't turned from their wicked ways, they're about to see the hand of God. It's going to manifest now into end of the year.
It always seems like historically the fall is when a lot of this stuff happens. And I never really understood why that was. Maybe people are just away on summer vacation and busy, and then they get back, and that's when world events happen. But looking at your dates, that's when a lot of these biblical feast days is in the fall. So that seems to make sense why a lot of it lines up on those dates or around that time.
Right. If you look at the Shemitah cycle, there's crashes every 7 years in the 7th year, always in the fall time, because that was Elul 29. See, it was in September.
Right. Yep. Okay.
So that would kind of answer your question. Why? Because of their biblical time points. And the precious metals typically have most amount of weakness in the summertime because the traders aren't, and the price manipulators can manipulate as much as more so than any other time of the year. And so now we're in September. So now we're going to start seeing some pretty exciting fireworks. So again, we're about to see what what God can do. The great I am, is about to make this world tremble. I wrote this out about a week, 2 ago. After being really quiet, I put a bunch of data together and I wrote this out. I want to read this to you and your viewers. Okay. So God's 50th year, the year of Jubilee, began Rosh Hashanah, September 2022 last year, and ends on Yom Kippur, September 25 today. And it is on this day that God makes his final decision about our new year beginning in January 2024. Get that? So today is final decision time. And this is it. God's going to make his decision about how we're going to start January 2024. And so if they turn from their wicked ways, God's not going to come against them, but they haven't. Okay. They have refused. We haven't had a Jubilee in centuries. So this is going to be historic, what's about to go down into the end of the year and then starting January. So as the evil ones, the global elite, have refused to repent and turn from their wicked ways, because it's about repentance. They refuse to repent and turn from their wicked ways. The Lord God will bring his vengeance, which is Isaiah 61 in Romans, upon the evil ones into year end. Beginning in 2024, the evil ones will have lost their control of America as their financial system, the system used to build Mystery Babylon, will have crumbled. And in 2024, the financial collapse will accelerate.
Because they can't do the bribes anymore.
That's right. So they lose control this year into year end. And the next year, holy mackerel, talk about chaos. That's going to start next year. It's going to be insane because they lose control. So the financial system, they lose control of it. And after that, it's down. Like once a dam breaks, okay, it's broken. They've been doing damage control. So what's been happening is you've got a dam and they're poking their fingers in it. And so they got millions of fingers in the dam to not let this dam break. But once that dam breaks again, so the event that, that Dick and Cliff were seeing was specifically that dam breaking. Is a loss of control. So the dam breaking is a Daniel 2 verse 34, the fall of Mystery Babylon. That's the dam breaking. So America is about to fall and suffer for a season for its rebellion against God. And this is Revelation 18. And again, Daniel 2, verse 34. Buckle your seatbelts for what is about to go down. The world as we know it is about to come to an end. A new era is about to be birthed. In Galatians 4 and Matthew 6:10. This birth will cause the rug to be pulled out from underneath everything the elite have built, and they will fall. Their time is up, and all their perversions are about to be revealed. They will lose their grip and control of humanity as their dollar crumbles and America witnesses a crash of biblical proportions that forces the elite to return everything that they have stolen. Proverbs 13:22. This will be the greatest financial event in human history. Third seal of Revelation. As God's money, gold and silver, will begin to glitter. Matthew 13, verse 23. We are about to be freed from bondage of the global elite, and their plans will crash with their economy into year end. Since Nixon took us off the gold standard in 71, the value of everything has become meaningless and has become blatantly obvious these past few years. The current financial system is now worthless. The stock market, too, is worthless as it is backed by nothing but lies, as is their money, the dollar, the Federal Reserve note. The dollar-based financial system is built on sand, and the world is about to find out that the bond markets, the stock markets, or real estate markets collapse begins this fall and will continue into the summer of next year, 2024. This will be the worst crash in history of the world. There will be panic, fear, and shock. Rioting will break out in reaction, and martial law will be declared. The crash is imminent and will follow an event that many will suffer great loss. Now is the time of final preparation to store up some extra food, water, and extras, as the shelves will go bare. America will fall for a season as it is chastised by the Lord. They will want to blame 45, but it will not work. So again, while everybody thinks all is well, an event is coming that will cause the ground to shake, the volcanoes to erupt, and the markets to collapse. It is coming, and it cannot be stopped.
And how brilliant that, and I don't even know that Trump knew this, but how brilliant for God to pull this together to where Trump is not in office right now and can't be blamed. Isn't that incredible?
Exactly. See, that's the whole point. See, the Kim Clement prophecy, everybody always thought, 2 consecutive terms. But again, God revealed to me a while ago, a couple of years ago already, a couple of years ago, that he can't be in office during the collapse because the collapse happens on the other watch. It cannot happen on God's appointed or anointed. So that takes us into, I was speaking with Donna Rigney, prophetess. So page 13, it was a very incredible interview. Basically, she said that God revealed to her. So I want to give her credit on this. This is in Psalm 24, year 2024. Come on. It's crazy. So next year is the year for the King of Glory, Jesus Christ. So what is Psalm 24? In a summary, in a nutshell, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. And the ones who have clean hands and a pure heart, who do not trust in idols or swear by false gods, will receive blessings and vindication from God, their Savior, the Lord Almighty, the King of Glory. So this is what's coming, blessings and vindication. So we're going to see blessings begin this year. And as great as it's going to be this year, next year is going to be even magnitudes greater. Vindications next year, 45, everything. People that thought, that what we talked about was ridiculous, never going to happen. Everything is going to be completely exposed by the end of this year. And next year, vindications are like you can't even imagine. It's coming, and it's so exciting how close all this is. Because why? Page 15 basically shows we're watching the birth of God's kingdom. The birth of God's kingdom. So one has to fall for another to be born. So Babylon falls and God's kingdom is birthed. If you go up just one slide, page 14, it says the fall of Mystery Babylon will mark the birth of God's kingdom on earth, which will be directly coupled with earthly birth pains, specifically volcanoes and earthquakes. So be ready. It's all about to go down. God's about to reveal himself in ways that will make us tremble. His reveal will awaken his army, the sleeping giant. See, so God's church is here. They're just a sleeping giant. And that's why evil is so freaked right now, because everything they're doing is not working. And the prophets keep speaking, and the Christians, more and more people just keep waking up to the truth that all of this is a lie. See, so how exciting. That's why they're getting so nervous right now. And so if you click on page 18, again, this goes back to the Garden of Eden, okay? The Garden of Eden is basically where Satan came onto the earth. How did he come on the earth? He deceived Adam and Eve. Think about this, right? So God makes Adam and Eve. He makes Adam in his image, correct? This is scripture, right?
Mm-hmm.
God made Adam in his image.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does the deceiver come in and Satan come in and say to him? Did God really say that?
Mm-hmm.
If you eat from the tree of knowledge, you'll become like God.
Right.
Wait a second. He was already made in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? That statement, that deception, Adam gave up his authority on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that now evil's on the earth. Evil's the prince, Satan's the prince of the earth. And so he's a lowercase g God. And then the first builder was Nimrod.
Mm-hmm.
And then when God intervened at the Tower of Babel, page 19, Nimrod went into hiding and he fled to Iraq. Interesting that we went to war there.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidence. And we said, what? Then we see like a giant there. Well, just coincidence. And then Nimrod changes his name to Gilgamesh, letter G.
Yep.
Look at the logo for the Freemasons, letter G.
Right. Yeah. Why is there a G in there?
Because it's for Gilgamesh.
Uh-huh.
Gilgamesh was a name change from Nimrod.
Yep.
Nimrod was the one that built Tower of Babel. So
And
Nimrod and Gilgamesh are the same entity. Just the Gilgamesh changed his name to confuse. He deceived everybody to who he is. But he's Nimrod, who basically built the Tower of Babel. What are they trying to build? The Tower of Babel. What's the Tower of Babel? Mystery Babylon. And then what's God going to do? Fallen is Babylon the Great. So God's going to intervene, Daniel 2 verse 30, take down Babylon. But you have to understand, this is not the end of it, okay? So there's people out there saying, oh, this is going to be great, 1,000-year millennial reign, it's all going to be awesome. Did you read the rest of the Bible? Trumpets, bowls, a third of the land disappears, 100-pound hailstorm, a meteor hits the earth, turns a third of the water bad. Like we haven't seen these things, so don't tell me that this is all going to be happy, joy after God intervenes on the earth. No, he's bringing in a window of divine favor. A window means that's the beginning and end of divine favor. And then that leads us into later on the mortal wound that's this evil system is going to get is it's healed. So the beast system resurrects in the future. And that will be the Antichrist kingdom, which, again, all of this is tied into all the stuff that we've talked about in the past. And so page 21 basically talks about, fallen is Babylon the Great. She will fall in a single day. Okay. So there is an event coming where these people will fall in a single day. God is now making his final decision today, if they've repented or not. And no one's repented. These people have not repented. Okay. So they've not turned from their wicked ways. Okay. So now it's God's turn. So now they're about the creation is about to meet the creator. Oh, this is going to be a battle like you have never. It's going to be over in 24 hours, 48 hours. It's going to be so fast and be ridiculous, but it's coming. And so page 22 talks us again. 22, 400 years Israel was in bondage. Mayflower landed 400 years ago. Page 23, that opened the first seal of Revelation. Corona comes on the scene, and there you go. So now we start opening the seals of Revelation. We're in the beginning of the end, not the end. The beginning of it. Okay. And then God said to me, start counting 12 and a half, count Daniel 12 verse 7 from January when Corona comes on the scene. And that took us into the summer solstice. And then, so page 25 basically shows us that their evil agenda, their strength came to an end on the summer solstice. And that specifically was when the text came out that linked Hunter to his father, said, I'm sitting here with my father while they're doing a shakedown on China. So that was the link right there. And everybody, and then again, people are like, that's a huge deal. There's not a big deal. But now we're finding out because McCarthy was just last week. Now they're starting to file impeachment charges against Biden based on that text. You see how this is all playing out now? And then the other calculation was August 8th through 9th. And that was precisely what happened on page 28 and 29, where you had the Maui fire. And then you also had the song came out, The Rich Men from Richmond. And that's an interesting song because it says in Matthew 20:16, it says the last that you would ever think, ever to become first. It happened in 24 hours. This guy, Anthony, Oliver Anthony, his song went from nowhere. The last guy who lives in the wilderness, his song went to number one in 24 hours.
Yep.
And so the last that you would ever consider became first.
Yep.
And that happening. This is crazy. It came out on the 8th of August. The eve of the 9th, just like we had the calculation for the 21st of April year 2020, the day before on the 20th, oil into negative $38 a barrel. So it seems that these huge things happened the day of, and so the 9th started the next cycle, basically, is what it's saying. So I'm just saying how all this is coming out, and now we're stepping into, so they're coming in with a kill shot. Oh yes, they are. Why? Because God will let them bring this nation to its knees. It's going to look horrible. It's going to look really scary. Think about it.
It already does.
You don't think Israel was scared when Pharaoh's coming at them, when they had nowhere to go?
Right.
You don't think the apostles were freaked out? Remember, we know the story 3 days later when he rose from the dead. But the day that Jesus was crucified, trust me, there was no celebrations going on at the cross. Everybody fled. Most of the apostles, I think all the apostles fled. Maybe one stayed. But it was horrible. Peter denied him 3 times. You see, it was horrible. But it was, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they got thrown in the fire. Are you kidding me? See, it always looks horrible, but then Jesus showed up in the fire. And then Jesus rose on the 3rd day. And then Jesus part the Red Sea. You see, the glory comes, and then you will hear the sound of great victory. Page 31, I found interesting that it was exactly, again, these Masons run the number, they're 33rd degree Masons. Okay?
Yeah, they love that number.
Chain. It was 33 years ago, Hunt for Red October came out. The same.
Yep.
Coincidence. We know there's earthquakes are supposed to be coming, earthquakes and volcanoes. Got kind of the revelation I got 2 weeks ago was to study the 2017 eclipse cycle that traversed across the entire United States.
Yes.
That in August of 2017.
Yes.
So the eclipse came across the entire globe, and then God said to me, "Look at that like a seatbelt. That will be the United States would be the passenger, and God's driving the car." And at the top where it entered over there in Oregon, there's 2 volcanoes, Rainier and St. Helens. So I don't know, are they going to pop off again? I find it interesting that the eclipse entered right in above them. So we're waiting for earthquakes and eruptions because that's what happens with birth, right? See to it that you are not deceived. These are the beginnings of birth pains.
Yep.
Okay, so we're expected to see earthquakes. This event, again, is tied in directly with the greatest financial event in human history. So page 33 is the 3rd seal of Revelation. We're still expecting and waiting on the angel of death to manifest. Is it going to happen soon? I don't know. God's secret. But the angel of death been prophesied by 4, maybe even 5 prophets that he is going to strike the evil ones of this earth. And there will be the funeral homes will be filled. The morgues will be filled. So what does that mean? Well, the angel of death passed over Goshen. He didn't go for Israel. He went for Pharaoh's firstborn and all of Egypt's firstborn. And then the rider's got scales in his hand. So again, greatest financial event in human history is coming. Page 34, just a coincidence that they created the petrodollar contract in 73. The same year abortion. Think about it. Petrodollar contract became with Saudi Arabia in 1973. And incredibly, just this past August 24th, 2023, the Saudis joined the BRICS. Wait a second. Is it not a petrodollar because U.S. has a contract with Saudi Arabia? Oh, well, that's a problem because if they join the BRICS, there's no more petro in the dollar contract. So it's just paper.
Yep.
Get it?
That's done. That's essentially done.
Yes. So the dollar is nothing but paper now.
Yep.
And we know what, and God says, test everything with fire. Well, you can test that paper with fire. Not going to turn out too well. Page 35 is going to fulfill the prophecy of Kim Clement, the brothers of Goliath. BRICS nation, standing glee, we will cripple you. So George Soros wants to work with China to raise China and weaken the U.S. dollar and make China the world's superpower. That's the agenda of the global elite. George Soros has stated that. I have audio of him saying that. So they want to raise China as the world superpower and weaken the United States. Why? Because if you grab the United States, back to what we started, you control the world.
Yep.
You see, so they have to grab the United States to control the world. So, so this morning, just before the podcast, I got a prophetic word, and God actually showed me a chart. And I'm like, holy mackerel! I know that chart, and so I immediately went to compare the cycle patterns, and I was dead on correct what God showed me. And so this is the U.S. dollar for the past. Please pay attention, for the past 2 years and 9 months.
That's the top.
So from the left side in January, you can see the red arrow, January 2021. That's the left side of the chart. The top is a historic cycle, which God showed me where to look. The bottom one is present day US dollar. Okay. So the bottom one is showing us what the dollar has done since January, because I lined them up perfectly for you so you can see very clearly. Since January of 2021, look at the top cycle, which already happened years ago. Years ago, this happened. The bottom one is present day US dollar, Federal Reserve note. Tell me that that's not perfect.
Yeah. It
From
looks
January to October top, 2022, to a drop into January, another drop into March of this year, and another drop into July. And then everybody's saying, well, now there's this article. I think I sent you a link. If you can maybe click that link. And this is interesting because what the link is saying, because right now this chart is saying at September 25, we are at point D, which is the top, where this is over. And it's interesting because we're right now at Yom Kippur. So what it's basically saying is that something's about to happen. And the article written by Market Watch, this was posted just 2 days ago, 3 days ago on the 22nd. It says the U.S. dollar scores a first golden cross since July 2021, signaling more trouble for the stock market. If you read further, it's basically a golden cross means the dollar is going to go higher. It's going to keep going up because the stock market is going to get weaker. So what this article is saying, the dollar is going to go up.
But that's not what you've been thinking.
Well, so now the chart, the article, again, we know what, always what they say in the media, you can't listen, because now particularly this is a lie, because let's go back to page 36. I've covered up the rest of the chart. So my subscribers have this. Actually, they don't have it yet. I'm going to be posting this later tonight to my private update. So they'll be able to see this forward. I literally just made this 2 hours ago.
All right. Sneak peek, everybody.
Yeah. But I've blocked out from September 25 today forward. So I don't want to reveal that because, again, I can't reveal everything, but I'm telling you, I drew out point D. And those who want to later on get my private updates will see that point D, which is now the end of September, is a top. The U.S. dollar is topped. It's finished. It's finished. It's going to turn down now, and it's going to get really exciting for gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, and completely opposite. Because remember, gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are the opposite of the U.S. dollar trade.
Yeah, the dollar goes down. Typically, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, that type of stuff goes up.
Correct.
Yeah, right. So you're telling me
the
that
U.S.
article,
dollar. So the chart that God revealed to me is showing that the U.S. dollar is finished. If the U.S. dollar is finished for years forward, if the U.S. dollar is finished, then what? What's about to embark us on the next? Look at the next page. The greatest wealth transfer in human history. We're about to embark on the third seal of Revelation, which is the collapse of the fiat-based money system and the rise of God's money. Haggai 2 verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord, and a honest monetary system of cryptocurrencies, of transactions at distance, because everybody can see the blockchain. It's honest ledger. You had a question? No, we'll go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is all the stuff you've been telling us for 2 or 3 years now at this point. And at first it seemed, a lot of people said, well, that seems crazy. Now it is literally, it feels like it's coming to a pinpoint, and we're there after 2 or 3 years of you talking about this. You have been sounding this alarm for a long time, and you're basically saying, I know you haven't drawn out the rest of that chart, and we do want to be respectful of your subscribers because people subscribe to that, they pay money for that, so we we respect that, and we don't want to give that away. If people want to subscribe to that, I'll put the info. We'll get to that in just a minute. But you're basically saying everything you've been telling us is now playing out, and we're now starting to see it in the news.
And how awesome is this? The final push to the upside, as they're trying to push it up, God's about to intervene. Something's about to go down. The U.S. dollar, Federal Reserve note's about to turn down and have an ugly, let's leave it to that, ugly finish to the year.
There you go.
Mark my words, the U.S. dollar is going to have an ugly finish to the year. But that will fulfill the scriptures, basically, of the collapse of the fiat-based money system. And then next year it talks about blessings, because Psalm 24 talked about blessings.
Right.
So blessings are, 30, 60, 100, 1,000-fold. So we're going to see immense prices. We're going to see awesome prices this year. And as great as the prices are this year, holy mackerel, a price is going to be even better next year. So we're at some very important point in time. And then what happened at Mount Carmel, page 39? We can kind of go through these quickly, but Mount Carmel, page 39, basically talks about what Elijah did to the prophets of Baal. Mm-hmm. These people who run the world worship the prophets of Baal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Jezebel spirit.
Nothing new.
Nothing new under the sun.
Nope.
God is about to strike them like you've never imagined before. Look what, and it's interesting because the prophets of Baal, it happened in the 3rd year. Just saying.
Interesting.
So page 40, you got window of divine favor. We're in right now. It's about to get really exciting into year end, and 2024 is going to be incredible. Page 41. I've talked about Esther in the past, relation to 45. And the importance on that is there are no coincidences. It's mathematically impossible that he marries Melania on January 22nd, 2005. Okay, that's fine. They picked the day they got married. 7,000 days to the exact day is Purim, 2024. You can't make this up, but this goes back to what I said about Daniel 2 prophecy. The end is written from the beginning. So when Purim arrives and it's 7,000 days, it was supposed to, because that's how God wrote the end from the beginning. He wrote it. So we're just watching it happen. And the next 3 Purims, if you understand what happens at Purim, it's the Haman effect, right? Haman built gallows to kill Mordecai and all the Jews. He hated them. Sound familiar? And in 24 hours, the opposite happened. He ended up hanging, and his family, all his kids, on the gallows that he built.
That's right.
So they walked into their own demise and trap, and they also built their own demise. How crazy is this? But that's how God operates, right? And so that takes us into 44. Page 44 is the 45 cycle, Trump 45 cycle, right? So we watched this happen together. He got elected November 8th, 2016. We ran 1,260 days, and like something's going to happen. Oil into negative $38 a barrel. 30 days later, Edenville Dam breaks. 10 more days, which is 40 days, 40 nights, George Floyd riots break out. So the point I'm making is that 1,260 or 1,290 days from oil going to zero is this November 2nd.
That's one of those time windows you were talking about.
Time window. And then the 45-day window into December 17th. What I'm saying is that that's a very important time window. Why? Because if you go to the next page, it's Galatians 6, verse 7. For what a man, be not deceived, for God is not mocked. Do you think they've mocked God? I think they have. Pretty bad. Whatever a man soweth means if you plant evil seeds, you will reap evil on your own head. Thus shall you reap. It's interesting, but that time window that I showed that on page 44, that time window is right in the time of Thanksgiving, harvest. Harvest season. Yep. For what a man soweth, thus shall they reap. Kim Clement prophecy was very clear. Summer will be the mediator, which just ended, so that the fall can do its work in America. Page 46 clearly shows that this cycle chart has predicted every single crash in the stock market. Again, I don't care about the stock market, but again, This will be the collapse of the stock market. And then, but more importantly, is the collapse of the dollar, which we spoke about earlier. That's what matters. Dollar loses status as the world reserve currency, forget about it. Okay. But this chart's pointing to a potential large crash this December. And then again, page 47, I'm just telling you, I don't know when. No, God has not revealed this to anybody. He's revealed that he's returning, but no one knows when. But all I know is that the the cycle charts of the markets indicate a collapse, a massive crash in December. The dollar will have collapsed this year and then a worse collapse next year. So all I know is that is the builder, and he must come back and rebuild what God destroyed. Mm-hmm. So later this year, high probability. Early next year, high probability. I'm just saying, this is a piece of the puzzle that God will not reveal to anybody because it's very directly tied in to the fall of Babylon and how this is all about to play down. So this is tying in directly with like that Red Sea miracle where God will not reveal his kill strike and his final piece and how he puts this all together. So page 48, again, lays us into, we've finished the first 3.5 years. We've now embarked on the next 3.5 years. And then another 3.5 years after that takes us 7 years. Page 49 indicates that we are now stepping into 7 years of plenty. So as ugly as everything looks, it only looks ugly because God hasn't intervened yet. And the hand of God has not come to say hello to evil. So God's about to strike, and then that will embark us on 7 years of plenty, and that will also fulfill page 50, where Kim Clement was standing in the year 2027. And what did he say? He was standing in the year 2027. He goes, "I am standing in the year 2027, and I'm looking beyond the veil of limitations." So we've had 3.5 years of the most incredible glory on the earth. All the truths have been revealed. They're finished. They're finished. With 3 years, they're gone. And God is now on, we got massive glory on this earth. And so all the things they've been hiding, like free energy, is revealed. And so we have incredible things that are going to be on this earth as we step into, the year 2027. So page 51 finishes up with all of this.
That's before we get to that, Bo, that's just as your prior 3 years are coming to a close here and starting to play out before our eyes. Here's the next set of things that people can say Bo's crazy about, and then we'll watch those for the next 4 years come into play. But how wild is that going to be? That slide 50 is some crazy stuff, and I think we're about to live through it.
We're about to find out that everything was a lie. So, the energy system we use is antiquated, is basically a metered system, whereas God energy is a kingdom of more than enough. Everything's free, right? So Nikolai Tesla's energy that he discovered, the coil, all these things he discovered, and there's many more things we're going to find out that that we have not been revealed. But when God reveals his glory, it's going to come with free energy, and it's going to come with things that have been hidden from us, technology that exists. Physics that exists but never been revealed to us.
Wow, that's going to be crazy.
So that's what's coming. And then that leads us to, so then kind of in closing here, page 51 finishes us up and directly on, we've been through the evil side, and now God's going to restore the covenant that he made with the founding fathers. And so as 2023 comes to an end, 2024 is going to be a whole new world. It's going to be Psalm 24, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's great.
So that basically is a rundown. And then in closing, I know you want to talk about cryptocurrencies. Let's yeah. So I'm sure your viewers want to hear about this as well too. So we've talked about the dollar. Remember, whatever the dollar does, Bitcoin, gold, and silver, and the alternate coins are going to do opposite. Okay, so if the dollar's going up, Bitcoin's going down. If the dollar's going down sharply, Bitcoin's going up sharply. Just remember that. Okay, they're opposite of one another. So this is the cycle chart we were using for the first part of last year and the first part of this year. And this is a 12-month cycle starting in August of last year, so a year ago. And you'll see this is the chart that we've provided to our subscribers. And basically what you can see is every single drop, every single move was predicted within the cycle. Even in that drop that when FTX crashed, remember we were talking about that in October.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about the crash of Bitcoin that's coming on about the 8th of November in October of last year. And then the 8th of November came and boom, it crashed right on the money. And on page 53, we end up finding it was the FTX scandal that caused it. But it doesn't matter because, again, the cycle already told us it was coming. We were expecting it.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay. So this was in our charts. All of our subscribers, they had this. This was what was going on last year. Then the newest chart is page 54. I just put this together yesterday. So I sent out a private update to my subscribers. So all of our subscribers, they received this on Saturday, the 23rd.
I saw it.
Of September. Okay. And this is the chart. So tell me that this is not incredible. So like we did look to the US dollar before. Okay. So the top chart is a historic cycle. God shows me where to look at these things. So this already happened. The top chart happened. The bottom chart is present day Bitcoin going back to March of this year. So basically, if you go back 6 months.
Yep.
So if we start in March, you'll see the March low. It goes up into the April high, then continues down and then drops into the June low, then goes up into the July high, and then drop down into the August low to within like 48 hours. Basically, every single turn since March of this year, the cycle foretold weeks, months in advance. And the turn was to within 48 hours, every single turn. You got to admit, it's crazy. But you've watched it happen, haven't you, Noah?
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yes. Yes. And it feels like it's just been a little dull recently, just kind of sitting around. You can see it on that chart, just kind of in that range. And it's kind of feels to me like that, when you stretch a rubber band, the longer it stays stretched and waiting, then, it just is going to go somewhere pretty fast.
Right. And so all I know is that if you look at this chart, you can see the chart from March of this year to today or to last Friday, September 22nd. So that's the chart in our private update. The only difference is that the chart in the private update has the future. So it shows you what's coming. October, November. So it shows you what's coming forward. And so what I'm saying is that it's going to get really exciting. So what I've written here, coming in 2023 is an explosion, is a price explosion. There's going to be a cycle high comes in this year. There's going to be a sharp sudden crash because they're going to fight to bring this thing down. And then there's going to be a bigger price explosion. And then you got more, like we got literally next year coming, 2024. So all I'm saying is that the cycle itself, that if you look at it, anybody can look at this. If you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can fully agree that those turns are within 48 hours of one another. Every one. Okay. You've watched it as we send the updates out. And all I'm saying is that we're now getting into a very interesting time point because today is Yom Kippur. This is where God starts to turn things and get involved. So something's about to happen. It's going to be really exciting. And the charts are confirming it all. And we've got the pattern. I'm just showing that the reports show what's coming because October, November, and December is only 3 months left this year.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, and you've got, let me scroll down to this page here. You've got some of the coins on the screen here that you follow. Of course, Bitcoin is the one that you've got in these charts. Other things tend to follow Bitcoin, but you've got a few, and I won't say here out of respect for your subscribers, but you've got a few smaller ones, some that you can buy for under $100, some that you can buy for under $1, even under a penny. And I think those are exciting. And some of those you've got in your newsletter, and you recommend some higher allocations of those because they can move percentage-wise even more than Bitcoin can at this point. So I just personally, for me, I kind of like following those. I bought some of those. I'm holding some of those, and I'm excited to see what some of those are going to do. That some of those are on the screen there. There's even other ones that you have in your report that aren't even on the screen, but. If anybody wants to get this, Bo always puts together a discount code, and we've got it active again here on this one. If you want his newsletter where you get these updates, you usually get a couple a week, 1 or 2 or 3 a week. Bo sends those out, goes into a lot more detail, the stuff that's not on this chart. And I think the last one, Bo, is about 8 pages. So there's a ton of detail in there. if that's something you're interested in, it's not for everybody, but if it's something you're interested in, if you want those detailed turn dates, go to gold2020forecast.com. And then as you're going through there, look for the promo code box, the discount code box, and type in WLT49. You're going to get that for 50% off, and you'll get immediate access to Bo's entire history of reports. So that's kind of fun to look back, and you can verify everything that we're telling you on this. And then he's also got, I know this is always popular, his Easy Crypto School, where if you don't quite even know how to get started, that's where you want to go. It's a school, it's training. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do, what websites you can trust, which ones not to trust, how do you do it safely so you don't lose money, and how do you figure out where to even get started. It's all in there step by step. And if you can follow directions, you'll do great. That's what you want there. So same thing there. Go to easycryptoschool.com and type in the code WLT49. You're going to get that for 50% off too. So always appreciate it, Bo, that you come on here and give away so much information. These slides are free. You can grab these slides below the video. The link will be down there. And then if people want more, that's what you do, I guess, for your job, I guess, is you publish that newsletter, but everything else you give away for free. So always appreciate your time, coming on here, spending over an hour with us, putting together these slides. We've gone through summer. It's been a little slow. It just feels like we've been in a waiting period, whether it's politically or financially or with crypto and gold and silver. Boy, they've been manipulated for 40 years, but it just ready to see some action. And it sounds like that's what you're seeing as well. So I personally am excited to see what comes next. Let me get this off the screen and let me get you back on here. I always like to, there we go. There's Bo back on the full screen. So let me kick it over to you, Bo. Thank you for coming on, and I'll leave you with the last word.
I can just finish with this. The way we transact that we grew up with, the way that we're used to, everything that we're used to or is accustomed to us is, things that we consider normal. Everything is about to change. Everything. When Babylon falls, the financial system is how they control humanity. That's the crux of how this is going to change. When the US dollar loses status as the world reserve currency, the US dollar is going to turn down. It's going to lose the status of the world reserve currency. It's going to be horrific and historic. And it depends on what side of the fence that you're sitting on. Did you prepare? Because most people are not going to be prepared for what's about to happen. But God's going to remove this dollar as an idol. He's going to remove their control mechanism, and his money will be reinstated as honest money, as written in the Bible. So something's about to go down financially, and it's going to be directly related to the collapse of the dollar, which would be a sudden and sharp vertical rise of gold and silver, God's money, and cryptocurrencies. And those that don't know how to use cryptocurrencies, have never used them before, or don't understand them, understand that you're going to go through a learning curve, whether you like it or not, because the dollar will not be accepted as payment in other or most areas of the world. When it gets rejected as a world reserve currency, countries will not accept it as payment. So you're going to need to learn how to transact with cryptocurrencies. And don't tell me that they're evil, because the US dollar was not evil when it was initially created. It's when Nixon took us off the gold standard is when the dollar became satanic, because it had no correlation to God's money. So until evil intervenes on Bitcoin, where they literally grab it or they attach it to the internet where you need a mark to log in, people are going to need to transact at distance. And it's not going to be economical to send somebody a silver coin or a gold coin when you can click a button and literally send them a transactional instrument with a click of a button. So the way the world transacts is about to change forever, starting now, specifically as we head into the end of the year. And next year, it's going to be incredible how the world has changed. So I truly hope people have listened to you, have listened to me, Noah, and have prepared, because things are going to change. And, it's going to be the best of times in the worst of times. It depends on what seeds and what you've sown, because God will not be mocked. And let's leave it at that.
Well,
so
there
God
we go.
bless you, Noah.
That's the perfect ending. Thank you, Bo. And we're prepared. And I hope everybody listening to this is prepared as well. It's time. It's time to get ready. It's time to get prepared. So thank you, Bo. We'll have you back on soon.